Allow me to do a brief bio of our speaker. So our speaker today is Emmanuel, and his full name is Emmanuel Frederick, or Emmanuel F. Benjamin. He has worked with international students in India for more than 20 years. He has worked with IFES, that's the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students. The movement here in Kenya, we know it as Focus. He's worked with the movement in India and pioneered international students ministries in the 90s as staff of IFES India, and then as a leader of international students ministry. He's married to Mercy, and they're both involved in casting vision for reaching international students, as well as training Christian believers in various cities to effectively get involved in international student ministries. He's the founder and director of International Students Fellowship. He's also the director of the Komensky Consultancy that focuses on intercultural and language training. So by the way, for those of you who are going to India, or you know students, African students, friends maybe going to India, maybe you may want to hear a bit more about this consultancy that our brother Emmanuel and his wife Mercy run. He's also the co-coordinator, Network of International Ministries in India, and he's also a member of the India-European Trade Council. I should also mention that he is involved with the Lausanne Committee for International Students. He's currently helping catalyze our work in the Indian subcontinent, so networking and catalyzing work among internationals there. Emmanuel and his family are based in the city of Pune, which is in Western India, and they are blessed with 3 sons who are all adults. Arpit is 27, Ashrit is 24, and Adash is 22. I don't know whether I pronounce those names right. They are also members of the Oldham Methodist Church in Pune, India. Now, if there's anything additional, our brother will tell us more. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my joy and pleasure to invite our brother Emmanuel to minister to us. So if you could help me put your hands together digitally, I think that would be great. Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome, Brother Emmanuel. And Isaac, thank you also for coming. I saw you enter after the meeting started, so I know more guys might join in, but for now, our brother, karibu sana, Brother Emmanuel. You're welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for Louis for organizing and leading this meeting. I'm immensely blessed to be part of you this evening. I count it a great privilege from the Lord to share with you. Bill, he wanted my bio, and I sent him. I didn't expect him to read everything, because whatever I am today, it's only the grace of God, and I don't take credit of all that. I am just a simple minister of the Lord, a servant of the Lord, so serving international students in India. So that is my credential as a servant of the Lord than all other things. Okay, so I want to begin a great topic that you people have chosen, connecting right. I want to share my screen, and so that we all can see. Okay, you all are able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's a great topic, connecting right. If we are connecting with international students and connecting them rightly is very, very important. So the topic is very, very apt, and we will go. Acts chapter 13, verse 47. I just want to read this. For this is what the Lord has commanded us. For I have appointed you. Some version says made you. Some version says established you. Some version says called you. And some version says set you to be a light for the Gentiles, to bring salvation to the ends of the earth. So it's almost same like Great Commission in Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 onwards. Go and make disciples of all the nations. So this is the commission that Jesus has given to us, and he begins that, for this is what the Lord has commanded us. This is a command from the Lord for us to be a light for the Gentiles, to bring salvation to the ends of the earth. We are expected to shine as light of the Lord Jesus Christ and bring salvation to the people in different parts of the world. And is it possible for us to go to almost every country in the world, maybe 208 countries or so, according to the UNO? But we cannot. But we can still reach the people who have come at our doorstep. And that's why I have chosen this Matthew chapter 25, verse 35. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. And I was a stranger and you invited me in. And Jesus talks about this. I was a stranger and you invited me in. And that is what International Students Ministry is all about. Inviting the strangers in. Jesus himself mentions that I came as a stranger to you and you invited me in. And hundreds of strangers we call international students who are in our midst, how we need to invite them into our fellowships, into our homes, to be part of our culture, to be part of our lives. So this is what is expected of us. This is Richard Senoga. He studied in India, and I want you to listen to this video, and I'm going to pick the topics from his what he has shared. We had asked him to record and send. He is from Uganda. He studied a few years ago in India, and he has been part of our international students' work. And I have picked up some main keys from what he has shared, and I'm going to share on that. So kindly listen to this video carefully.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And thanks for attending this webinar. My name is Richard Senoga. I'm in Uganda. I was a student of the University of Pune in India from 2004 up to 2006 for 2 years. And I was staying at the University of Pune in the International Students Hostel. My college was Norwich Wadia College, again in Pune, near Pune Station. I'm glad to share a few experiences about my life while I was in Pune, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how, together with the help of the International Students Ministry, or the we used to call it the Friends of International Students at the time when I was in India, but now the name has now changed to International Students Ministry. So I want to share some of my thoughts and experiences of the life that we had there, and how the ministry was important in helping us cope with life in a new foreign land. First and foremost, when I was in the university at the Norwich Wadia College, I was doing Masters of Computer Science on a scholarship from the international students, from the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, ICCR. There were 5 of us from Uganda during that year. I was doing computer science. 4 of my colleagues were doing MBA. One was also doing a master's in computer science, who was a year ahead of me. That was Martin Mubangizi. And then we had a junior doing a bachelor's degree in computer science. When I was in Pune, just like many other foreign students, there are always challenges when you're away from home. Many challenges that you always encounter when you're away from home. I'm going to cite a few of some of these challenges, and then look at how the ministry was central in helping me cope, and again how even after the university, the ministry was helpful. First of all, at the college, it was quite hard for me to always get mates, those that I would work on, that I would work with to do projects. In my class, there were 2 of us that were foreigners. One was Indonesian, his name was Ukron, and then I was the only black student in the class. During that time, it was always difficult for Indian students, our classmates that were Indians, to work with us on projects. So it was quite a tough time. Personally, I thought that it was a result of maybe the way I spoke, because I was a black guy, because they're not familiar with working with blacks. I don't know, but then it was quite a challenge anyway. So I worked with Ukron on different things, project works, and we went along well. Secondly, on the buses, it was quite tough. Life was quite tough for us on the buses. They were pushing around, pushing. Sometimes you would get a seat, then others will come, stand behind you, others beside you, others were spitting. I mean, life was quite challenging. Then in the banks, people were not queuing. Much of the time, people never queued. Anyhow, these are all examples of cases where we, as foreign students, found a few shocks here and there, and found it quite challenging to cope with life in a foreign land. Now, the ministry, Emmanuel always came to the hostel at the University of Pune in the evenings. He always came around on a motorbike. He met us, he spoke to us, encouraged us, and on many occasions, he always invited us to his home for dinners. We always met at his home to network, to share experiences. We had colleagues from Mozambique, others came from East Timor, others came from Kenya. We were from Uganda. It was always a moment of unifying people from different backgrounds, from different countries in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, and in many different in many other parts of the world, to meet together, share experiences, see areas where we agreed on certain issues, and then a few other areas where we never agreed. It was always a wonderful experience. So I must say this ministry was essential. Most importantly, these kind of meetings or reunions at Emmanuel's home were another way through which Emmanuel always spoke about Christ to most of us without discriminating. These were moments that he used to get all of us, Christians, Muslims, the Hindu, our Hindu colleagues, and many other non-Christians, talk about Christ, talk about God's love, and help us get comforted in one way or the other. So I must say it was important, it was essential, and it is needed. This ministry must continue, because for anybody, any student that has left home, life can be challenging. They can easily give up. They can easily turn into what they are not meant to be on coming to such a country. We had examples of young ones who actually were drinking, were smoking dangerous substances, and actually became victims of crime. Many of them went to prisons. So I must say this ministry is essential and must continue and must be sustained so that many others can benefit from it. Now, fast forward, I want to share a personal experience about how this ministry and how Emmanuel under this ministry was very essential. First and foremost, right now I work with the United Nations. I've been with the UN for now, coming 7 years right now. My first posting was in Vanuatu, to respond to a cyclone in Vanuatu in 2015. Then I was in Niger. I was in Sudan, in Khartoum. I was in Iraq, in Erbil. I was working with the UN OCHA in Nigeria, in Maiduguri. I was working with UNICEF in Abuja. I was working with the World Health Organization in Mogadishu, in Somalia. And this month, I'll be starting with UN OCHA again in Bangladesh, based in Dhaka. Now, before I could join the UN, I was required to certify my documents. That's the requirement in the UN. You certify, you produce your documents, originals, get them certified, get your exhibits of past work, employment history, certify them, and other things of that kind. Now, when I was in Uganda, had it not been with the help of the ministry, with Emmanuel's helping hand, it would have been quite difficult for me. It would have been so expensive because writing an email to the University of Pune seeking for assistance in certifying documents can be a tedious experience. I saw that myself. I tried writing emails to the University of Pune asking about who could help me certify my documents, and I can assure you, I never got replies for a long time. So I became desperate, and I required help. That is how I got to Emmanuel, spoke to him about my problem, and asked for his assistance. I can tell you all it took me was to send my documents by courier to Emmanuel, and within about a matter of a week or two, he had done everything that he could do. He had gone to the International Students Center, certified my documents, returned them by courier, and I was sorted. That's how I joined the UN system. I can assure you that this is only a case of a success story that I can highlight. And I know there are many other cases where under the ministry, Benjamin has been able to give a helping hand to many other foreign students that were in the University of Pune, or that were in Pune in general. So first, so I want to once again simply say this ministry is essential, must be helped, must be supported, and I can personally commit to my continued support wherever there's a need to this ministry, based from wherever will be best. And I want to encourage those that have left universities out of their countries to always keep in touch with those that left behind. Keep in touch, share their stories, share their lives, how they have been able to progress in life. But at the same time, I also want to encourage those that are still studying in universities out of their countries to always keep in touch with those that they find that are helpful, network, look for help, and where possible, they themselves should give help to those that need it, so that at the end of the day, it's a fairer and worthwhile universe to live in. So I want to thank you so much for listening to me. I want to once again thank Emmanuel as a person, his wife, Mercy, his children, and then the entire ministry for the work that you do. Please keep up the works and keep going. We are behind you, and we are always going to be very pleased to give a helping hand where we can. I want to say thank you so much once again, and wish you a wonderful webinar to everyone. Thank you very much. Bye.
Well, I think you must have observed quite a few key features that Richard speaks about. Can I open up and ask you, what are those key features that Richard brings about in his sharing? Can anyone share? I don't know how much time we have, maybe 2 or 3 if you want to share. What are the key features that Richard brings about in his sharing about international students' work? Anyone who have listened to the video?
I think one thing I got from his sharing is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
The environment for which you're in, either you will be accepted for who you are, or you have challenges adapting into your environment.
Okay, so he mentions the challenges, number 1.
Yes.
Okay, so acceptance would definitely come into that, the challenges faced and how the student is accepted. Okay, so any other feature that you see in this? Challenges is very important. Students, international students, when they are in a different culture, so they do face different kinds of challenges, and a few Richard has shared. Okay, any other keys that you see? Okay, so due to lack of time, I continue. Richard talks about connections. You know, as our topic is connecting right, and Richard definitely talks about connections. You know, he talks about in his sharing that through the ministry with the International Students Ministry, they were brought together through different countries, different cultures came together, there was connections made. So he talks about that. Connections is very important. Then he talks about building friendships. So through this ministry, so he was able to build friendships with the local people. He talks about ourselves, our family, and other Indians and other international students, building friendships. Then he talks about caring for strangers. He also mentions that how important it is that you care for strangers. You help them in their situations that they are in. Then, of course, he also mentions making a Christian influence. He mentions there about me, Emmanuel, talked about love of Christ and in a simple way without hurting anyone. So he also talked about the fellowship dinners in the homes where a Christian influence was made through that. So that is another key that Richard talks about. Then he also talks about networking, how this ministry has helped in networking even after they have returned. So they have been networked, they have been connected with the people in their own countries, or they have gone to other countries, and how they were connected. So some of these keys Richard talks about, and these are very, very important ones. And I just want to share from there things how we begin doing international students ministry. How do we connect with international students? Where do we connect? I want you to watch another short video.
India has opened up to receive many foreign students. And we are seeing many of them come from the countries where we cannot go and share the message of Christ, like Iran, Arab countries, North Africa, where there's predominantly a Muslim countries. It's so wonderful that they are so open here in this country. We worked among the campus students in India for over 20 years. God led us to start our own ministry to international students because we have been passionate. Wherever we see international students, we just introduce ourselves, we meet them. And we meet them on the campuses, we meet them in the international students' hostels.
We meet them in the malls, we invite them homes for lunch or dinner. And then we have freshers meetings. People who come fresh into the country, we invite them to homes. And then we have discussion groups on various topics for people who do not know the Lord. We take them out for camps to discover India and to know for themselves how India is beautiful. They are here in India just for a few years, some of them. But we have built friendships that last forever. Even if they have gone back home, we are still in touch with them. And they still miss the fellowship that they enjoyed here in our place. We build the trust with them and then we share Jesus with them.
We have reached hundreds of international students and we have quite a few converts from Muslim background. We need people, we need more volunteers, people who come with the passion to reach the nations. Some people have the vision to go to some countries and serve, but due to visa restrictions and the money and the passport and all those formalities, they are not able to go. But they can still reach those nations right from our country. Such great opportunity for us, reaching these people, reaching the nations right from our doorstep. And that's what we are involved together as a family.
Okay, so where do we connect international students? And we have connected international students. We have contacted them on campuses. We have gone on to the campuses. We have met some new students, even senior students, and introduced ourselves. We met them. We meet international students in the hostels. In India also, there are several private hostels. So we go to those hostels, meet them. We meet them in shopping malls. We just go to shopping malls and we see some international students hanging around doing window shopping. So we meet them, we say hello, we introduce, we talk to them. Then in cafes, I'm giving example of James Bett from Eldoret in Kenya. He was studying in a university here in our city, and I was in a cafe to meet someone else, and I was waiting for that friend to arrive, but that friend sent me a message that he is a bit late and I have to wait for some more time. And as I was waiting, I saw an African student there sitting alone, and I just went over, introduced myself, and he said his name is James. I told my name, and our friendship began there. And I ordered coffee, and then he already had some coffee. We both began to discuss over coffee, and then I ordered some more stuff so that he can also eat and I can eat till my other friend comes. And it was a great beginning of friendship. And James, he told where he's staying and all. I went to his place next day, and then we invited him home for dinner, and that is how the friendship began. And James became part of our international students ministry till he finished his studies and went back to Kenya. So we meet students in cafes, we meet students on street. As we are walking, sometimes there are some students, they are going to some place, we just meet them on street and introduce ourselves. Then we meet students in the church. One student from Angola, her name was Nubia, and she came to our church first time. A student, an African student coming in our church, walks into our church, and my wife Mercy, she met her, she introduced herself, and she asked Nubia her name, and they got introduced to each other. And after church service, we met them, we brought Nubia home. She was so thrilled. She says she is in India only last 3 weeks, and she was so happy to be part of a local home. And that's how our friendship began. And until she finished her engineering course, she was part of our international students ministry. And that is how the connection began. And we also meet international students through national associations. We have like Kenyan Students Association, we have Ugandan Students Association, we have Ethiopian Students Association, we have Iranian Students Association. So we meet students through national associations. We meet the association office bearers and ask them to introduce new students to us. So we meet them. Then senior students. We had Amos Kahara from Uganda. He was a senior student, and he was one student who had such a great influence over every nationality in our city of Pune. And he's the one, any activity we do, he will go bring international students, especially he will go hunt for the new students who have taken admission in the universities. So Amos was part of the international students ministry till he left India. So we meet students in our neighborhood. So we meet Indians through Indian friends. There are a lot of Indian students who are our friends, and they tell that there are some international students in their class. So they introduce them to us. And when we organize any activity, so we make posters and put up on the campuses, and international students see this, they contact us, and through that, we connect with international students. So these are some of the ways we contact international students and build friendships. Then contacting international students within a few weeks of their arrival is very, very important. And we have seen in our experience last several years, when an international student comes within 3 weeks, they are trying to adjust in the new culture. So that is the time when we build friendship with them, they become friends for life. And all the students we have seen, we have met them within few weeks of their arrival, and they have been great friends of us. Those students, we have met them after 6 months, 1 year, and they just come once a while for the program and they go away. But because they have adjusted so well with everything in India, so they don't like to come in contact with us again and again. But students who have been in India for very few days, they are the ones who come in contact with us. So this is very important. We have observation we have seen in our ministry. And where do we find volunteers? We need volunteers. We are getting so many international student contacts, and we need volunteers to talk to the students, to build friendships with them. Where do we find volunteers? We find volunteers in the church, in our fellowships. We find volunteers in our local Christian students. There are Christian students who are studying in different campuses. So we can ask them to come help us build friendships with international students. We can also, as I have mentioned, a few examples. So Christian international students, so they can be part of the fellowship and build friendships with other international students, and they become volunteers with us, connecting with new international students. Then friends from other Christian ministries. We can also get volunteers from other Christian ministries. Who are the volunteers? We say volunteers, we need volunteers, but who are the volunteers? Volunteers is very important. They need to have a good testimony. They need to have good character, and they should be people of integrity. We just cannot have anyone as volunteer. We need to have people who have a clean testimony. Then also, when we are involved in sharing the message of Christ with international students, we need to see that they are also doctrinally sound. We have faced in our place, we have some volunteers, we thought they are good people, but later on, they turned out to be some cults. They were trying to mislead some international students. So we have to be very careful. We have volunteers who are doctrinally sound. Then they are culturally sensitive, because they need to understand different cultures. They need to understand that international students are not from one particular culture. They come from different cultures. So they need to be culturally sensitive. They need to be available. That's very, very important. Their availability is very important. I know they say they want to be part of the fellowship, they want to help, but they also need to give their time, their energy, their maybe money and everything. So they need to sacrifice certain things. So they have to be available, and they have to be on the same page with us. They don't differentiate what we are doing and they do something else. They need to do the same thing what we are doing, and they should be on the same page with us. And they need to have the attitude of servanthood. So that's very important. As volunteers, we need to have people who need to have the attitude of servanthood. It is not bossing over the students who are coming over to us, not directing them, not forcing them to do certain things, but we need to be an example of servanthood and show them what we do and ask them to do. And I just want you to look at this passage, Luke chapter 5, verses 4 to 7. Can I request one of you to read this? It's 4 to 7 verses. Can I request one of you to read this? I hope we all are alive.
Let me read.
Yes, please.
So Luke 5, 4 to 7. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out and let down the nets for a catch." And haven't caught any. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink.
Okay. So why do we need volunteers? We need volunteers to fulfill the purpose of God. Jesus, he commanded Peter to put the net on the other side. And Peter obeyed, he did. And finally, they caught scores of fishes in their net. So they called other disciples other people who are in other boats to come and help them to pull the net. So they needed people to pull the net. Why? Because whole night they had tried to catch fish they had not caught, and now they are able to catch lot of fish. They are not able to pull the net, and they are calling other people who are in other boats, come help us. So we need volunteers, come help us to fulfill the purpose. So a lot of fish we caught, we need to pull it. We need to bring them out onto the shore. So to fulfill the purpose, we need the volunteers. And we need volunteers for the effectiveness of our ministry. If only Peter and the two disciples, if they were in the boat and if they were trying to pull the net would have broken and all the fish would go back to into the water. So they called others so that there is effectiveness. They will be able to pull the net in a right way, proper way, so that they are able to fulfill the purpose. So we need volunteers for the effectiveness of our ministry. We need volunteers because the task is huge. Why did Peter and others called other people from other boats to pull the net? Because they had caught a huge fish, lot of fish. They needed help. So our mission is so huge, our job is so huge, and we need more people to come and help us. We need volunteers, and we cannot work in isolation. And Peter could not just do alone. He could not just do fishing alone. He needed others to come and help. So we cannot work in isolation. We need volunteers. So it is very important why we need volunteers. So we cannot work in isolation. We need volunteers for casting the vision to others. We need volunteers who can go over to others and tell that international students are coming in our place. They need to be reached. We can reach their nations by reaching them. So casting the vision, volunteers are needed. Then we are giving opportunity for the volunteers to develop their talents and exercise their gifts and talents. And through this, when we are getting volunteers, we are also giving opportunity for them to enjoy the gifts, develop their gifts, and exercise their gifts. And also, when we have new volunteers, there will be new ideas and new knowledge, fresh knowledge. So that's why we need volunteers. There will be fresh knowledge. There will be new ideas coming out from them so that we will be able to fulfill the purpose of God. And also why we need volunteers to build resources for the future. For future, these are the volunteers who will be trained, who will become effective witnesses, who will be able to train others later on. So we need for resource building the volunteers. And what is the role of volunteers? Why we need volunteers? Volunteers will be with us to pray with us and pray for us. As we are in this huge mission, volunteers will be with us to pray with us and also pray for us. We will have volunteers who will provide practical assistance. If students need to be picked up from the airport, from the railway station, from the bus station, we cannot do ourselves. If we have the volunteers, they will be able to assist us in doing that. When we organize certain activities, volunteers will help us in organizing various things. In practical assistance, volunteers will provide help. Then they will also support through kind and money. They will also support us. Maybe some international students who have come new, they may need a furniture, so some kind of furniture we don't have, but some volunteers have, or maybe some friends have in the church, so volunteers can arrange. And also if they need money, so volunteers can help, maybe raising money. And volunteers also will be able to host dinners in their home. They'll be able to lead maybe Bible studies. They'll be able to teach certain activities to international students. They will be the facilitators. So we need volunteers. That is their roles. And connecting international students. Hebrews 13:2, it talks about, do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Luke 16:9, I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwelling. My dear friends, Bible talks about showing hospitality to strangers. And it's very, very important component of international students ministry, showing hospitality. And hospitality is an important aspect. Hospitality is the friendly and generous reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, or strangers. Hospitality is both action and affection, receiving and loving a stranger. More than entertaining, hospitality is an attitude of love. Ways of showing hospitality. We show hospitality by taking initiative to doing things through our kindness, through compassion, being sensitive to their needs, by trusting them, by accepting them, by opening our home and inviting international students home, by feeding them, cooking food, by listening to their stories, the challenges they face, providing their needs. So showing patience and persistence in walking with them and even being accommodative with them. Maybe they are strangers with a different culture, but how we accommodate them into ourselves, our lives, our home, that is all hospitality. And hospitality serves as a bridge to develop friendship. And it's very, very important. Hospitality serves as a bridge to develop friendships. And friendship creates a bond. When we build friendships, that creates a bond between us and international students. And I am a great lover of Henry Nouwen writings. And this is what Henry Nouwen says: hospitality means primarily the creation of a free space where the stranger can enter and become a friend instead of an enemy. Hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them space where change can take place. I agree with Henry Nouwen. We are inviting international students not to change them, but giving them the space where change can take place in their lives. That's very important. And hospitality and friendships are two sides of the same coin. So hospitality and friendships are both so important components of international students ministry, and they are two sides of the same coin, and that go together, hospitality and friendships. And again, friendship is all about sharing. Henry Nouwen says true friendships are lasting because true love is eternal. A friendship is in which heart speaks to heart is a gift from God, and no gift that comes from God is temporary or occasional. All that comes from God participates in God's eternal life. So, my dear friends, true friendships are lasting because we have the true love of God in us. We have the eternal love of God in us, and that love bubbles over to share that love with international students. Building friendships with them. It is a heart-to-heart gift from God to share what the Lord has done to us. More than activities are event, one-to-one relationship that are built remain strong and lasting. And that's from our experience. A lot of international students have come for our events, for our activities. But whenever we have spent time one-to-one, and those students have remained faithful to us till they have left, and even now while they are in their own countries or other countries. The relationship we have built are strong and they are lasting. And role of an ISM worker. ISM worker, we need to have a clear vision from the Lord to reach the nations of the world from our doorstep. We need to have the vision. And without vision, we cannot reach international students. We need the vision from the Lord to reach the international students. We need to be committed. We need to have the commitment. We must be willing to sacrifice everything and ourselves in order to reach and minister to international students. Sacrifice is very, very important. Then remain faithful to the mission. Whatever comes to us, whether confusions, whether friction within our ministry or friction with international students, whatever may come, we must remain faithful to the mission that God has given to us in reaching international students. And my dear friends, when we are doing this connecting with international students, we will get rewards, results, and all that in the hands of God. And as Bill has mentioned, we have been serving international students last more than 20 years. And we have enjoyed such great blessings from the Lord to know different cultures, learn different cultures. And we have had students from different countries coming and cooking their own country food. We have tasted the food of more than 100 countries in our home. And that's a great joy. Enjoying different cultures, learning from them, learning different cultures. And that's the great reward and the greatest reward when we are in eternity that the Lord is going to give us in God's time. And 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 58 says, therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. My dear friends, as Paul instructs us, we need to stand firm. International Students Ministry, I know, is not easy. We need to give up certain things to adapt certain things. We need to sacrifice certain things to gain certain things, and it's not easy. Certain times we have seen some students, they have not done good things to us, although we have done a lot of good things to them. We had strained relationship with some of the international students, but standing firm is very, very important, and nothing should move us from our vision, from our mission to reach international students. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because we know that our labor is not in vain, because it is the Lord's work. And whatever we put in, the Lord in his due time will give us the fruits of the labor we labor in. So thank you, my dear friends. I don't know if I made sense by sharing this. Thank you once again for listening to me with patience. I hope you all are alive, and it was a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for sharing. Thank you for sharing out your heart. I've learned a lot, and I'm really, really grateful that you were able to share with us these life lessons that have helped you along the way working with international students. We're very, very grateful. Maybe we will just take maybe one or two questions or comments. Anybody has a question or comment, you can just put up your Zoom hand and I will recognize you. Anybody has a question or comment?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess mine is to really appreciate our brother Emmanuel, as you have shared. What I loved most about the presentation was just how practical it was. Clearly, these are not theories that he was sharing with us. They are a practitioner's memoir, so to speak. You know, I loved even practical insights like, where do you get international students? You know, malls and different associations. Where do you get volunteers? So with this presentation, I know that our ministries in general will be greatly boosted. We could be walking around with it and, you know, ticking off some of the ideas as we practically engage. So thank you very much, Emmanuel. I was blessed and greatly edified by the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else has like a comment, a question before I ask mine? Okay, so for me, I have two questions. One is, how do you, maybe in places like where you have national associations, how do you connect with the international students in these associations? For example, do you write a letter, or do you go seek a meeting with the head and say, I would like to meet your international students? Basically, how do you do it? Because here in Kenya, there are like Christian unions in each university, and some of these schools have international students, which in a sense is like an association. So how do you get to connect with international students in such spaces that are not one-on-one? And the second question would be, as an international student, how do you find your way? Like, I'm an international student, for example, in Kenya, and I want to get to the right people. I want to be able to meet the right organizations. How do I go about it? Yeah.
Well, your first question, Louis, I think, you know, what we do, I meet with the National Association office bearers like president, secretary, and very often these national associations, they have taken help of us in conducting their elections also. Whenever they had national association meetings, like Kenyan Students Association, they had invited my whole family few times for their programs on a Kenyan National Day. And we were invited, and you know, that's where we connected with other Kenyan students where we had not met before. And Sudanese Students Association, they invited us and asked us to help in conducting election. You know, there was a time we had about 2,000 Sudanese students, and there were about maybe 400 to 500 on their list for the association meeting. And it was in a large auditorium, and I was invited as the guest to help them conduct the election. So that is how I was able to build a connection with the new Sudanese students. And that is how we do that. Not through letter, but personally, I go meet with the association leaders and meet them. Apart from that, I also establish contact with the international centers of the universities. So I go meet them. I tell them that I am involved in the international students work. We host international students. University, the international center, they can't do that. They are only doing, you know, formalities with admissions and all other things like hosting, helping them in practical assistance. They are not doing all that. So when we tell them we are willing to do that, we are doing that, they'll be very happy. So they connect us with other nationalities. So International Center helps us, International Center of the university. And the second question, connecting right as international student. I think I have found international students, you know, when we met them in the mall, My wife and I, we went to some mall for some shopping and all. I'm sorry. So we came across a particular student. I tell you one example of one student from Afghanistan. And, she was a lady, and she was in the same shop we were in. And my wife went to her, and she asked her, are you from Afghanistan? She said, yes, ma'am. How do you know I am from Afghanistan? And my wife said, yeah, you look Afghan student from Afghanistan. So she was thrilled. So she wanted to know. Then my wife said, we work with international students. We host international students. And in a week's time, we are going to have one activity with international students. If you are willing, you can join us. And we had the flyer, the printed flyer with us, and we gave her. And she was so happy, and she came for the event. And that is how she became part of our activities and part of our programs. And she kept coming for all our activities. Although she has attended several Bible studies, probably God has touched her life, but she has not made commitment to Christ. But we believe that God is still working in her, although she is back in her country. So that is how international students, first when we meet them or they are meeting the local people, they will have a lot of apprehensions, who they are, why they are interested in us. But later on, once we build trust with new student, so they will become comfortable with us and join us for our activities. I hope I am able to answer your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. Any question, comment before we close?
Can I ask a question? Since I had written to Bill also, Bill was mentioning there are lots of international students. I just wanted to know, out of curiosity, some of you who are in Kenya, what countries students are there in Kenya, maybe in Nairobi?
Okay, I could share. So Emmanuel, we have students from around the world in Kenya.
Top 10 countries. Top 10 countries. What are those countries? Like top 10 countries, if you say.
The top 10 countries. I was looking at a report the other day. Apparently, this shocked me too. The country with the biggest number is Angola.
Wow.
Now that is
speaking.
Portuguese speaking, and not close, not close to Kenya. I had thought countries like Uganda or Tanzania, which are the next. We have lots of Tanzanians. Uganda, I think number 3 should be South Sudan. South Sudan should be number 3. Yes, we have lots of Somalia students from Somalia. We have students from Uganda, Rwanda, and then from West Africa, we have lots of Nigerians, a good number of Ghanaians, and then the Democratic Republic of Congo, and a number of Francophone countries, yes. So DRC, Burundi, the West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, a number of those. We also have lots of students from the South, particularly Zimbabwe, Malawi. Yes, Zimbabwe, Malawi, especially. South Africa, Namibia, Botswana. Those ones are pretty few. I think it's because there's probably preference for South African universities. Yeah, great. So that is what I'd say. Internationally, increasingly, we are also getting students from a number of the Western countries. So a couple of Europeans, I know Kenyatta University, for example, our second largest university, has quite a huge population of students from the Scandinavian countries who are coming in on exchange programs. But the
So
private
diverse,
universities,
right?
yeah, private universities has students from everywhere. In fact, for one of those universities called USIU, I know we have a significant population from India, for example, Australia, Europe, the Americas. We have quite a number of those. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful. That's great. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.